RacerTV.com and our continuing coverage here from Society Hill and Camp Coker for this, the Camp Coker Bullet GNCC, and it's all brought to you by your good friends at CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. And of course, it's time for the side-by-side racing action, as today we have, wow, some nearly 90 competitors out there on the track that's going to be taken to the track here in just a few moments. And a big mix-up in the early part of the year as we've got points that are crazy and championship contenders that we never expect in the early part of the season. The big question is, as we approach the halfway point of their championship season, are things going to even out? Are we going to see someone pull ahead? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Let's take this opportunity to meet our starting lineup right now as they make their way onto the starting line. Our first row will be housing those riders and drivers and teams, I guess I should say, that actually are the top points holders in their classes. And we include in row number 1 the number 2 car, Hunter Miller, the number 4 car of Kevin Trantham, the number 12 of Michael Swift, the number 13 of Walker Fowler, and the number 70 car of Jamie McCoy. Those are your top 5 point leaders in the standings right now, and they are on row number 1 as the blue flags are out. The all engines dead call has been made, and now they're telling us 5 minutes before we'll be ready to go. So we're going to have to wait just a few moments, and we apologize to you folks there back home on Racer TV, but I can tell you can help, it really can help up, I think, make the situation a lot more exciting, I guess you could say, for these folks that are watching, and especially for these guys sitting in their cars right now as they are so patiently waiting the start of this race. But not only that, they are very anxious to get going, and they're chomping at the bit. But before we do that, let's meet and greet with this gentleman right here once again, our Director of Operations, Mr. Tim Cotter.
Thank you, Rodney. Hey, folks. Again, as you know, this is a UTV race. You guys are much larger than our ATVs. We have done everything we can do to articulate to our spectators that the race course is off limits. However, it's absolutely possible that you could encounter a spectator on the racetrack. If you see a spectator or a person out on that racetrack, you get out of that throttle. You slow it down until you bypass that person and then get back on your gas. We have 2 speed zones here today, 2. We have increased your speed zone from 10 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour. So we have gone up to 15 miles an hour. The 2 speed zones, the first speed zone is when you come out of the woods and get ready to cross this bridge. You all came across the bridge to get here. You will see the yellow placard that says caution, speed zone ahead. Then you will see the 15 mile an hour speed limit sign. Once you cross that bridge and bear to your right, there is a green sign that says resume race speed. The next speed zone that you will see is coming into the start, or the finish rather. Remember, you're not running the top of that ridge or the berm like the ATVs did. You're going around the bottom of it like the single seats did today. The speed zone is the same. You will encounter a yellow placard that says caution, speed zone ahead. Then you will get your 15 mile an hour speed limit sign. Once you go through the barrels or through the scoring zone, there is still another 30 yards or so of 15 mile an hour until you see the green placard, and then you can resume race speed. So that's the safety portion of it today, folks. It's dusty. It's very dusty out there. We can't change that. Be careful, be as safe as you can be, and please respect our spectators. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
All righty, folks, it looks like we're about ready to go racing as we turn our attention up to Ricky Tower. He says, fire them up, guys, and let's get ready to go. GNCC racing here, UTV style in South Carolina at Camp Coker, the Bullet, if you will. And we're ready to fire some bullets off into that first turn. We got 1,000cc machines, turbocharged. Some of these are actually naturally aspirated. Walker Fowler, who is one of the top 5 in points right now, or actually one of the top 10 in points, is in a naturally aspirated car, which means he does not have turbo in his car, and he wants to prove to the racers and the race fans that, hey, all that power is not necessary sometimes whenever you know what you're doing and behind the wheel. He's out there, as we said, on row number 1. He's currently ranked 4th in points. Row number 2, with our 6th place in points, Cody Miller. Cody is the defending national champion, and after a first round issues in that first round, and then after the last round, actually, I guess we were in Florida, which he would have some miscues on his part, and I'll be honest with you, he is largely responsible for the double placards that we have now, the new placards we have, to ensure that that there is no confusion as to what double arrows are. So a few changes made according to that, but it also cost Cody Miller a few points in the process, as he is now sitting 6th place and trying to dig himself out of a hole right now to try and position himself for a back-to-back championship here in UTV racing in GNCC. All attention up to the first turn region. Ricky Towery waving them now, letting them know we're less than 30 seconds away. That again, and all engines off sign, so everybody shuts them down. We're less than 30 seconds. We turn our attention now up to turn number 1, where Ricky Towery stands, and he lets this first row know it's time to roll in 10 seconds for row number 1, the UXC Pro Turbos, here at the CST Tires Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. And they are off. Around the first turn into turn 2, who's going to get the early lead in this one? Looks like the 70 car. That is Chaney Mccoy. Mccoy ranked 5th in points heading into this race. As we go to the number 2 row, Cody Miller, Sean Bogdan, Darren Oakley, and Cole Sequoy in 10 seconds. And they're off, and your defending champion in that Yamaha, off like a blast, like a real bullet there, if you will, here at the Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. Row 3 now, as we turn it down to the UXC Pro Turbocharged Row 3, the number 3 car, Kyle Chaney, 10 seconds. And the number 7 car, John Barnes. And Chaney going
And here we are at the Camp Coker Bullet GNCC, watching the UTV starts on your RacerTV screen right there. And got some awesome, I know here at the track you can't see it, but we've got some awesome drone footage that our viewers at home are getting able to watch. And we've lost our feed from Rodney Tomlin, so a little bit of technical difficulties, which is not unheard of when you're spread out across several hundred acres like we are here at the Camp Coker facility. But if we can catch up here, it looks like we're deep into the XC2 starts here, and wow, I'm joined actually in the booth by Jesse Strawham, and Jesse, as we watch this, we're seeing some bumping and grinding here, and I know that all the time during the start procedure, we're always stressing safety and don't be crashing into each other. But man, isn't this just part of racing?
It really is. You know, there's so much adrenaline running through, and those cars are so big that it's hard to see beside you, especially with no mirrors, if there's a car beside you or not. So we see a lot of bumping. Sometimes we see a little more action. Thank goodness today.
Well,
it's just bumping.
It's just bumping, and try to keep it safe, obviously. And that is a big part of this series, is safety first. Matter of fact, starting this round, this is the first round that fans haven't been allowed to be out in the woods, but that's a good thing, because we're trying to keep, these cars are so big, they're so heavy, they're so fast, and when they get out of control, it's not like an ATV where you just flip it once and throw it into a tree and you're done. These things, so
they'll mow the trees down.
They'll mow the trees down. So we're also going to see some extended speed zones in today's race where they're not allowed to race through the finish line. There's a speed zone that was instituted at round 1 this year, but I think there's some extended speed zones for this round here at Camp Coker here in South Carolina.
And this round they did change the speed zone from 10 miles an hour to 15.
To 15, okay.
Because it's very hard. A lot of those cars are under a lot of power, so it's very hard to keep them at that 10 mile an hour zone. And they are getting docked positions, correct, if they do not stay within that
right. There's
zone.
A penalty. There's an enforceable penalty if they're not within that speed zone. At 15 miles an hour was a good call, because these cars, a lot of them are auto clutches, and so at 10 miles an hour, you're right on that zone of slipping the clutch where it wants to engage, it doesn't want to engage, and you're heating the clutch up at that point. So a little technical detail for the folks at home there. Looks like we are about 3 rows to go. You see the
look how rough
in the middle.
that start is as well.
We noticed that in the ATV race, that there's some drainage ditches going through the start there, and actually one of the B-class ATV guys kicked that thing and ended up wheels to the sky, and he rolled around, he got back up and back into the race. But definitely something you've got to stay under power when you hit that it's just a little ditch, but you got to stay under power to keep that rear end squatted, because if you let off, it's going to kick, and then you don't know where the car's going.
And the car that's when we start to see some
right
barrel
there,
rolls. Yeah.
Right there. And you saw the car get a little bit sideways, but they got to keep it under power as they go across that ditch. That is a cool camera shot.
It is. This whole entire start shot was cool. They were going back and forth from the drone to the cameras on the corners. Yes. And the RacerTV staff, they really have just done such a great job with the production.
Oh, no doubt about it. They're working so hard. You go to the production trailer, and it's just a zoo in there, and you're like, how do these guys get anything done? But they're getting it done. I mean, they're really getting it done for the viewers at home, and they're really bringing them to the track and giving them that feel of being at the GNCC race. Yeah, like I said, this view right here, where it's coming straight at the camera, you actually get to see the speed right there. That's something that we don't get to see very often. And then switching to the drone, we just want to give a kudos to the RacerTV crew there. They're doing a great job, and looking forward to a great race. As we sit down here at the Camp Coker Bullet, Maury Sportsman Preserve. This is one of the most beautiful places on God's green earth. I just love it here. The temperature is 70 degrees, and we're coming into this. This is the 3rd round of UTV racing for the 2018 season, and the guys have been off for the last couple of rounds. They raced at round number 1, round number 2 of the GNCC series, and now we're on, I think this is round number 5 overall, but only round 3 for the UTVs. So they've been off for a little while. They did 2 in a row. Now they're back, and they're ready to go, but look at this FMF PowerPoint section here. This is part of the motocross track that's here at the preserve, and you're seeing the UTVs go through the sand whoops.
And it looks like they're that section, they're sending it, but through the initial whoops there, they're kind of slowing down, taking their time through there, because I feel that that could really get them out of hand as well.
Well, you know, when you watch trophy trucks on TV, they come to these whoops and they got 24 inches of travel and they just, you know, blitz them, get right up on top of them. Unfortunately, with our UTVs, we don't have 24 inches of travel, but look at this. They're being so aggressive.
Here comes Cody Miller on right there on the right.
Yep, you can't miss the Cody Miller machine. He's chasing the number 2 of Kyle Chaney there. Looks like we've got a battle.
No, the 2 of Hunter Miller. It's
number 2
the
of Hunter
Miller
Miller.
brothers,
I'm sorry.
And you know, Cody Miller has not had a good finish. He had the last round he finished second, but the first round he DNF'd, and that's really kind of messing with his points, isn't it?
That's really put Cody Miller back in the points, and he's running right now. I think he's 8th in the UTV in the XC1 Pro class. He's 8th in points, so he's really got to put the pedal to the metal and make up some time. And there was a little bit of controversy at the last race. He actually physically won that race, but then there was some course corrections that were outside of the boundaries that were completely unintentional. But you know, he's a true champ. He and Hunter and all these guys in that class, they're true champions. And disappointed, but hey, we're going to come back and we're going to make this thing happen. So actually, our crew caught up with Cody a little bit earlier today. So let's take just a pause from the live break and see what Cody had to say before the start of this race.
Cody Miller, national champion, and also motorcycle racer extraordinaire. What are you doing here, man?
Yeah, I just, you know, I'm taking my forks off so I can get a motor factory connection, trying to have a little bit of a suspension change. You know, I play around with dirt bikes. I can't really say a whole lot more than that, but I've had some good luck with it, I suppose.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, you haven't had, or we haven't heard of the great luck that you've had on the bikes and two wheels like you have here in the side-by-side world.
No, I think I got 5th overall in the morning at the last race, which is, you know, it's a lot better than I ever expected to do. You know, I got into the dirt bikes after I retired from the ATVs, and the last couple of years, you know, I've just been doing it for fun, just trying to stay in shape, and Yamaha gives me some support to run these things, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot easier on my body than the ATVs ever were, and side-by-sides are great. I enjoy the heck out of racing those things, but this thing is a whole different thrill.
No doubt. Now, talk a little bit about how things have been going for you so far in the UTV season this year and defending that national championship.
Yeah, it's been off to a slow start, a bit of a slow start. You know, at the first race, I was doing well. I was in the top 3, and I managed to find myself steaming really bad, and I had not secured a radiator line as the way I should have, and it went down and touched a header, burned a hole in it, and sure enough, we started losing coolant. My passenger, Cody Taylor, he looked at the temperature gauge and said, "Man, we're going to blow this thing up if we don't stop." So we had to stop. You know, we went to the pits and fixed it. It ended up taking us about a lap to fix it. But we got back out there on the track, and unfortunately, we didn't get any points that race because we finished worse than what were points-paying positions. And so we went out to round 2 in Florida, and we put our heads down. You know, we got a whole shot. We went out and found ourselves in the lead, and held that all the way to the end. But unfortunately, we took a line that was more than 25 foot from an arrow, which, you know, in the past I would have thought that was a great line, but they're buckling down, and they want us to shorten up the course a little bit. You know, we're trying to stay safe out here and keep everybody honest, so that's totally fine. We got docked a couple positions, but we ended up coming out with a 2nd place because of the way the score came out. But that's all right. You know, we're out here this weekend to try and win another one and keep working on the points. Now I've got 25 points on the board right now, and my brother's tied for 1st. I think he's got like 41. So you know, we're making a comeback right now, and we're trying hard.
Well, there it is from the horse's mouth. He and his brother are both trying hard, and they're going to make up for some lost time and put the pedal to the metal right here. So. And
you know, Hunter Miller has, I believe he has Adam McGill in the car with him, so he's got that kind of fresh look at the track.
He does. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to walk through the UTV pits and go down to the starting line and see who's riding with who, because there's always some well-known names riding shotgun, and you know, friends will partner. You know, they're enemies on the track at their ATV race, like Rick Zorn and Alan Carpenter are in a car together today, but they'll partner up together. You know, they race each other on the track and ATVs, but they'll partner up. So this has become a big part of the GNCC family.
Well, you know, that also reflects on the GNCC family. On the course, we're all enemies, but you know, we get, as soon as that checkered flag waves, we're family again.
Yeah, you know, come on over and roast some marshmallows and drink a couple of cold beverages.
Exactly.
Water, you know, in my pits. So, So, yeah, no, welcome back to Camp Coker here in South Carolina. Just to get you caught up as we're waiting on these guys to come through and give us some scoring and find out who's doing what on the track. I'm taking a look at the overall points, and Colin Truitt is actually in the overall ranking. Colin Truitt is leading for the championship.
And he hasn't won a race yet, but it shows you that consistency. He
is actually from the XC2 class. He's from the non-turbo class.
So he moved up.
He's from the XC2 class, so he's won both of the XC2 races, but he's also overall he made the main podium, and he's the only one that's consistently on the podium, because Walker Fowler and Hunter Miller and Kevin Trantham are all three tied for second place, and they've had inconsistent results, a 3-4, a 4-3, and a 12-1. And so those inconsistent results, they all total up to 39 points, but Colin Truitt has 41 points right now.
Because he's consistent.
Because he's consistent. And so we're definitely going to keep an eye on Colin today, and calling the shots from the booth here. We'll keep you up to date on who's doing what. We're still waiting on them to check in on the end of the first lap. And so I'm keeping an eye on live scoring here. But right now we've got a beautiful shot of the motocross track on RacerTV, and these guys are not afraid to send it on that jump right there.
And the conditions today are pretty dusty. And, you know, that can shape up for an interesting race.
It can. I was noticing that this morning. Oh, my goodness, at the 10 a.m. race, those 4x4 pros took off, and it was just a big dust cloud. I mean, I thought, oh, no, this is going to be a long day. But the wind picked up and has been blowing the dust out. And so even here, you know, this is a cameraman's worst nightmare is to have dust. But the wind is actually blowing it pretty well, and we've got good viewing from our TV screens, and certainly, you know, unless you're right up on top of somebody, the wind is clearing out the dust, so it's not as big a factor as I thought it was going to be. If we can get a good look at this one, right, it was the 116, and I'm not sure who that is, but anyway, we'll get things caught up here. As they start coming through scoring, we'll start get a look at lap times and see who's actually leading this race right now. But I know for certain we got a look. It looks like Kyle Chaney is just now coming up on your RacerTV screen. Kyle Chaney has led this first lap, followed by Cody Miller, and then the number 126 of Lawrence. Gonna have to brush up on my names here, Jesse. We've got some new names in the mix here.
Our overall points leader of Colin Truitt, he's in the 5th place position right now too, which is showing us that consistency again. He's had a 2nd and a 5th, and now he's running 5th.
Yeah, and again, he is not from the XC1 rows, so he's starting about 3 or 4 rows back, and so this is all on adjusted time. But still, there's no doubt that he's having to fight through traffic to be running that fast.
That's an impressive speed to maintain through handling that big car and going through the rough track, handling the dust, the heat. The heat's a factor too. It said it was going to be 70 today, and we're pushing about 80.
You know, it looks like Kyle Chaney is leading this race, and he's had a rough year so far this year. It seems like he's had a couple of inconsistent results, and we would expect to see him. We've seen him up front leading. But as far as finishing the race, been a tough year for him. So we actually caught up with him a little bit ago too. So we'll send you over to his segment right now.
Yeah, I actually have been having some bad luck. Usually it's hard for me I usually have one or two bad rounds, but we've had some bad rounds the first 2 rounds. So hopefully here the next, we've only got 4 rounds left, you know, including this one. So I pretty much got to win them all if I want to have a shot at this championship. It's I think we're gonna give it a shot. I mean, that's our goal, is to win out here. So, and if we do and we still don't win the championship, you know, the first 2 rounds, you know, took me out. It's a bummer we only get 6 rounds of GNCC racing, but you know, I messed up the first couple rounds, and hopefully we can get this thing in the center of the box here, you know, here the rest of the year.
Well, this round seems to be a pretty critical round for your championship hopes, then, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. So if I DNF here, my championship's pretty much, you know, there's no way possible to win it. But, you know, I can still go out and win races and stuff. But, you know, that's not the way we're thinking right now. We're thinking, you know, let's just get out there and let's win these last 4 rounds.
So you've DNF'd the first 2 rounds. Aside from the DNFs, how's things been going?
I mean, I've only raced 3 times this year, and 2 of them was the first 2 GNCC rounds. So we haven't had a whole lot races going on this year, but I mean, we've got a good built car. It's just, you know, we've had some bad luck, you know, with side-by-sides. It's, you know, you got to have there's definitely some luck involved. You know, there's definitely a lot of skill and prep and everything, but you got to have some luck too. And luck definitely wasn't on my side the first 2 rounds. But you know, we definitely prepared for this round, and we'll be prepared for every round for the rest of the year.
Well, there you go, Jesse. You hear it from Kyle Chaney. He said 2 DNFs so far this season, but he's going to go for it. What else can he do except to go out there and do his very best? And that's the heart of the racer right there.
It really is. You know, that's all we really can do is come out each week, you know, chalk up that bad day as a bad day and move forward from it and come out and hope for the best each round.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's doing good so far. Oh, man, there's that wind I was talking about blowing the dust out. It let me down. I couldn't hardly see right there. But, you know, it looks like he's leading this race right now. And, sorry, I'm a little distracted as I'm pulling up live timing on the phone here to see what's happening on the track.
And the thing about Kyle Chaney is he's so consistent as well. The consistency factor, you know, these guys, the guys that we see in the top overall, most races have learned that consistency. They've learned how to keep the car together, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've got some news in here. We've got Kyle Chaney leading this race, and he just completed his 2nd lap. So we've got Kyle Chaney in first place. Jamie McCoy is hot on his tail there. The number 70 we saw on screen here just a second ago is Jamie McCoy. Colin Truitt on time adjustment is running in the 3rd place position. Darren Oakley in the 4th place position, and Hunter Miller rounds out the top 5 in his number 2 Can-Am. We've got Walker Fowler in 6th place position overall. It's followed by Scotty Lawrence. That's the number 126 Can-Am of Scotty Lawrence running in 7th place. Matt Zeiler in 8th place. Kyle Hart in 9th. And CJ Greaves is the top 10 overall. And that a lot of these, with Scotty Lawrence, the name that we mentioned earlier, is actually running the UXC3 Pro-Am class. So he's actually an amateur. He's not in the XC1 or the XC2 class, and he was running early on. He was running 3rd overall on time adjustment. Now that 2 laps are complete, he's down in 7th place, but he is certainly dominating his XC3 class right there as he's running well within the top 10.
And as you read those names off, you can't wonder what happened to Cody Miller as he was running 2nd overall in the first lap.
We saw him on screen there. We saw him. He was 2nd overall. We saw him on screen. He was going fast, and now his name is not coming up. Another name that's not coming up is Cole Secoy. Cole is back. He's only got 1 lap complete, and I'm looking for we're looking for Cody Miller here. He's got 2 laps complete, and it says he's 19th place.
But so that could continue to drop as they come in for this next lap. He could be broke down somewhere on the course. We just don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. He's 1 minute and 48 seconds behind the car in front of him. So,
but if we remember last year, you know, it came down to the very last round with him, and he took that championship right there at Ironman. And I have a feeling that could happen again this year.
It
with
could.
This whole UTV championship.
Man, it's tough to say right now because consistency is going to play a key. We've got you know, Colin Truitt. If he continues doing this, he's going to maintain the overall lead. We've got Kyle Chaney leading right now, which is going to give him some valuable points. But with 2 DNFs, that doesn't put him in the championship hunt. And so what's left is Walker Fowler.
And you know, if Walker Fowler can pull off 2 championships, that would just be.
Yeah, I know he's only focused on 1 at a time, but he's
Walker Fowler.
He's Walker Fowler, and he is tied right now in points with Hunter Miller, and Hunter Miller is running in the 5th place position with Walker Fowler in the 6th place position. So our championship contenders are all back there. Colin Truitt in 3rd, and then Hunter and Walker in 5th and 6th.
It's actually Hunter, Walker, and Kevin Trantham are all tied.
That's right. That's right.
Colin Truitt's in the XC2 class, so they're tied for that XC1.
But looking at the championship standings, or looking at today's race, I am not seeing Kevin Trantham on my scoring here. Looks like we've got another, looks like a tough day for Cody Miller.
Here's Cody Miller on the screen.
Okay, let's look at Cody Miller, because that does not look slow to me.
Maybe his transponder's not picking up.
Well, it could be a number of factors. It could, we got somebody upside down. And we see the GNCC worker saying, okay, I'm gonna park my car, then I'll come help you guys. Oh man, Completely upside down, wheels to the sky, but we saw movement. We saw the driver. We saw, wait, that would have been the passenger crawling out of the car right there on that side. So yeah, I think everybody's okay right there. So yeah, we don't want to show that too much. There's a reason that we said, fans, this is a closed course today.
Because these,
you know, we're talking about Kevin Trantham. Trying to find him in the
down there with Kevin Trantham.
He's a quiet guy. You know, just by nature.
But he's been around GNCC racing for 10+ years at least.
Oh, longer than that.
Yeah.
I've been around GNCC for 10 years. This is my 10th year being the chaplain on this series, and Kevin was here before me, and so. But he's an unassuming guy, and man, he's won like 2 races now. Last year, and then again this year, where he didn't even know he won. It's like, oh, really? That was me?
Yeah,
I dominated?
He's so humble.
Okay.
He is just the most humble man as well. But we have an interview. We caught up with Kevin Trantham, so we want to shoot you guys.
Down there with Kevin Trantham. Kevin, pretty good year for you in the side-by-side racing action. Talk a little bit about what these first 2 rounds have been like.
Yeah, we've had a much better start to the year this year than in years past. You know, we've struggled at the beginnings, but you know, we've got some more time in on the cars and getting more familiarized with them, and so we've had a good run going in Big Buck, and I made a bonehead move toward the end, and it didn't work out so well, you know, so we didn't get the finish we were looking for there, but you know, we ended up taking the win in Florida. So we were real happy with that result. So, you know, we're going to try to put it back up on the box tomorrow and just stay consistent throughout the year. You know, we got to, you know, you got to win races, but you got to see the checkered flag and be consistent, you know, for the looking at the big picture, you know, for points, championship and stuff. So we'll see what happens. Looks like a good track. Going to be fast, but going to be really dusty as well. So a good start would be nice tomorrow.
Jesse, you know, he's talking about being consistent right there, and that is certainly key. We all know that that's key, and you get in the car and you say, I'm going to be consistent, and I found him while we were on that break. I was searching for his name. He's in last place right now, like 68th out of 68. So maybe he's going to pull into the pits if he can get there and fix it and get going again and salvage whatever he can. But man, we hate that. We hate today's race for you, Kevin. You're such a great guy. You're good for the GNCC Nation, and we wish you all the best. Good interview. All right, coming back to the racing action, we are still waiting. We are 2 laps complete. We're waiting on Kyle Chaney to check back in. The dust is starting to kind of settle down now. The breeze has slowed down, and we're getting a little bit of dust interference with our RacerTV crew. And here in the booth, we're not able to catch some of these numbers as they come flying by. But
you know, they're moving so fast, and the dust is just not clearing as quick as they're moving.
No, that was Darren Oakley that we just saw, the number 10 car of Darren Oakley. He is currently running in the 4th place position overall. He's 4th because there's that Colin Truitt guy who on adjusted time has snuck up into the 3rd place position. And it looks like we're still due. We should be due in, our leaders should be due in about 30 seconds, and we'll see if the end of 3 laps, if things will remain. Welcoming to the booth, we've got Rodney Tomlin back from the starting line.
Yes, I am. What a long haul from the starting line. And then the track was, the course is crossing a section of the roadway on the way back. And let's just say that UTV racing is very popular. It's about as popular as a 1 o'clock race anymore. You're starting to see that many fans out there. So the fan traffic coming back was just off the scale. Good stuff, though. I seen some good racing. Ironically, I seen Walker Fowler behind his mom.
Really?
In the 15-mile-an-hour zone over there, but he was obviously lapping her.
Yeah.
He was behind her. Woo, woo, meet. All the way down through the 15-mile-an-hour zone. I don't know if she knew it was him behind her or whether he was just having fun, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, while we were talking there, 3 laps are now complete, and Jamie McCoy is ahead of Hunter Miller.
Wow.
So
Kyle
checking in. Kyle Chaney. Here's where I'm getting confused, Rodney, is that Kyle Chaney, because he's had 2 DNFs, he didn't start on the first row.
Right.
So he's running on adjusted time. He's not physically in the lead. He's adjusted time in the lead.
And we've known just from prior experience that, honestly, starting in a 2nd and 3rd row might be an advantage in UTV racing. Obviously, it has been an advantage so far through the first couple of rounds of racing. And it's proving to be that just again here today. But we are, and you guys talking about the conditions, this track, I don't know if you've noticed, very rough and choppy. Talking to Landon Wolf, who's out riding right now with Kyle Chaney now in the lead car. he was telling me that this track actually chops up and maybe even a little choppier and rougher than the sands of Florida. He said Florida was rough, but he thinks that this track is actually rougher. And as the day progressed today, during that 1 o'clock race, the telltale signs of it were obvious. We've seen a lot of riders going out that normally don't go out over crazy things, just mechanical issues or whatever the case may be.
Oh, man, it was brutal today, wasn't it?
It was, and that course really took its toll on mind, body, and soul and machine.
All right, there's Cody Miller on our screen right here, and he looks like he is on a charge. Whatever happened with him, I'm assuming he got into the pits and got it fixed because he's not looking very slow.
He could have got hung up by a lapper as well, and that could have been a factor.
Yeah, to punt him all the way back outside of the top 20. Yeah, we'll find out later what happened with him there, but he's not going slow right now. But he's way deep in traffic.
Wow, 30th place overall right now is what we're seeing him at. He's 1 minute and 40 seconds behind the car in front of him in that UXC1 class, and I'm going to assume it's Sean Bogdan, quite possibly, that's ahead of him in that class right now. But nonetheless, 30th overall. Class, he's a lot better off if you look at that, but when you say that number, but overall is what these guys are racing for the national championship, and that's what he's concerned about right now.
Exactly. That's what we've been talking about while you were making that trek back from the starting line about 10 miles away, is that Colin Truitt out of the XC2 class he has the overall points right now. Out of the non-turbo class, and he's been consistent.
He has been very consistent. He's been very strong. He's been strong and consistent as well in the single seat racing as well. So I mean, he does double duty. He does the 9 o'clock race, and he comes out here and does the evening race.
Yes, and I think he's figured this out. And he's the guy to watch this year. Just as long as he can remain consistent.
Well, he's got to be pretty popular. I've seen about 30 people with shirts on that say Colin Truitt on it. Imagine. I thought to myself, I even said it to the guys, start winning a few races, next thing you know, you get a fan club.
Yeah. Probably made him feel pretty good, though.
Oh, I'm sure. I am most definitely sure.
We just saw Kyle Chaney come through the number 3 car. We just caught a glimpse of him, and he was not going slow either. So.
No, and that's how far physically he is, because you were talking about Darren Oakley and the guys checking in just a few moments ago. So that goes to show you how far behind. Physically, Kyle Chaney is behind Jamie McCoy and Hunter Miller and Darren Oakley and those guys, Walker Fowler even. But I have to tend to believe.
Walker right there.
Yeah, right there he is. And Walker, I'm thinking he started on row 2 right as well. That's on row 2 also. So, you know, he might be at quite a bit of an advantage. As we take a look at lap times, he's right there in the thick of things at the 10:57 mark. But it looks like in order to be catching up with Kyle Chaney, you're going to have to be all the way up into a 10-minute and 30-second lap time. His elapsed time when he checked in was 27 minutes, 38 seconds. Oh, my gosh, he was some 40, almost 50 seconds ahead of, about 40-some seconds ahead of everyone on adjusted time. That's pretty good.
That's really good for these kind of conditions. And we're starting to see visibility take its toll right now, but the track is just getting whooped out.
Well, I'll tell you what, the vision may be bad. It makes you thirsty. That's a great thing about having monster energy around. I got my Chaos juice in. You grab your drink, get quenched up, and we'll be back. Can Kyle Chaney hang on to this one? Or is Jamie McCoy or Hunter Miller going to steal the show? Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
for those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
We handle your races, your jumps, and your trails. Isn't it time you give your daily driver the same love? AMSOIL's Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard. AMSOIL also offers a full family of ATV, UTV lubricants, giving you above and beyond fortification for your weekday and weekend vehicles. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
What is your passion? Hitting the perfect line, finding the perfect trail, routing the perfect adventure, or just living and breathing the moto life? Do you feel pride for a job well done after tackling a late night in the shop? Do you enjoy time spent with friends and family in the great outdoors? Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We have transformed a team of moto enthusiasts into a powerful teaching team to ensure that you make the best purchasing decision with your hard-earned cash. We build communities with fellow riders to provide you with all you need to make a good decision. See customer photos, reviews, Q&As, and more while you're on our easy-to-use website. Need help fast? Live chat with our specialists, email, or drop us a line. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. We offer lightning quick shipping, free on orders over $75, a huge inventory, free apparel exchanges both ways, and customer service that leaves all others behind. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
The AMSOIL GNCC series on RacerTV is brought to you in part by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. And Monster Energy. Unleash the beast.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here from Society Hill, North Carolina. It is the CST Tires Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. We're in the middle of UTV racing action. Rodney Tomlin along with Chuck Lee Master and, of course, Jessie Strawham here with us today as she makes her return here in 2018. And, Chuck, I tell you, we've had ourselves a heck of a good battle already. Kyle Chaney starting on row 2. Down in points this year. Couple DNFs, but man, the last 2 rounds of racing, he has really made waves, especially here today, leading this one on adjusted time as we roll through lap number 4 currently. Jamie McCoy, who is the physical leader on the racetrack, currently sits second in the overall. Hunter Miller in third, Darren Oakley in fourth, and Walker Fowler rounds out your top 5 overall after 3 laps of racing there in the UXC1 Pro class, that turbocharged class. And some of these guys running naturally aspirated cars, one including Walker Fowler in that Yamaha machine out there, but still holding a good steady top 5. Colin Truitt we see in 6th place, and that's a little bit of a change from what we were looking at, I believe, a few minutes ago.
Yeah, he was running inside the top 3 for most of the day, and so to see him in the top 6 place now is a little different. You got to wonder, well, has something happened? But now we're deep into the race, and there's lappers to contend with. There's the dust, the wind kind of slowed down, and so got to wonder if race conditions haven't changed things up for Colin Truitt there. But one thing's for sure, if he can continue to keep top results like this within at least top 5, he's probably going to hang on to that championship lead.
Yeah, and that's I mean, it's a short series, and I guess you would say the expected drivers that you would expect to have seen up front, it's different. We're at a different point in this championship than what we thought we would be whenever we looked at this from round 1 before the racing even began. And that's the great thing about this championship season and any championship season. They can be completely different. I think that's what makes this UTV racing exciting, at least for me, because everything that was expected is not happening.
It's not happening.
The unexpected is what is really taken the front seat here, and for me, that brings excitement, because when you have the element of unexpected, you have the element of surprise. Surprise always brings, to me, happiness. You know, that's just the best way that I can put it. And I'm happy with a good race. I'm happy with things being crazy like this, because it makes it fun for a race fan to watch and try to keep up with it. And I realize it plays havoc for these guys personally.
Sure.
But for us as fans, I mean, when we come down to it and there's 5 different guys that could possibly win the national championship, that's a lot more fun than one guy that's walking away with it, or even 2 guys that have to battle it down to whichever one wins or beats the other one. I like to see it down to 5 guys. The way this is looking, it could end up in something like this as we are at the halfway point after this round.
It certainly could, because our points tie for championship right now lies to Walker Fowler and Hunter Miller.
Yeah.
Are tied for second place in points with Colin Truitt has a 2-point advantage on them. And right now, the 3 contenders of Hunter Miller and Walker Fowler and Colin Truitt are all running 3rd, 5th, and 6th.
And that's going to help out Kyle Chaney a lot as far as the points are concerned. Jamie Mccoy as well. He opened up the season with the win. Truitt got second behind him there at the Big Buck GNCC. But something happened to McCoy at round 2 in Florida. He didn't score any points.
No points there, so that's hurting him, because look at him. He's a front runner. He's right now in 2nd place on this race. And man, those missing points from Florida. There are no drops in the XC1 Pro class for the overall championship. It's best of 6.
A finish with some points would certainly put him in a lot better position after this round of racing. But hey, that's the nature of the beast, and that's what makes champions, is being able to dig out of those holes sometimes. And we'll see whether or not McCoy can do that and become a champion at the end of the season. Like I said, right now, the way I'm seeing it, we got 3 guys tied for 2nd place with 39 points apiece, and then we got 1 guy about 9 points behind him. So actually, from 1st to 5th place, there's 11 points that separate them. And the way this season's been going, 11 points can be made up in one race.
Yeah, absolutely, but not for the 247, it doesn't look like.
Did he hit that tree?
No, he pulled off the track, and he stopped there. And
oh, looks like we got a fire.
Yeah, there's a lot of urgency going on around that car there. And just to reiterate, GNCC made the right decision saying this is a closed course.
That's Matt Zeiler.
Yeah. Is that Matt Zeiler?
It
Okay.
sure is, the 247.
Matt Zeiler out of the...
Uh-oh. Zeiler had a pretty good run going from what I was seeing there a few moments ago, too. He's running 9th place overall.
9th overall from
the XC2. And he's only like 3rd place in the XC2 class. So, wow, tough rate for Zeiler there. Fire.
The unpredictability of UTV racing.
Yeah, it is. And that's exactly what we're talking about now. You know, you wonder what kind of causes those kind of things. There's no mud out there today to make this car overheat.
The dust, the radiator. The dust. I mean, you have to take into consideration the humidity is probably playing a huge factor.
I mean, you can easily clog a air filter. But
look at the ATV Pro guys. How many of those guys blew motors today?
It was a war of attrition today as much as it was a race, I think.
Look at Kyle Chaney here. You can't miss that. It says Chaney all over the very front.
Well, that is your leader overall on adjusted time right now. As we look at lap times, Kyle Chaney and the boys, well, they just checked in a few moments ago. A 10:27 lap time again for Chaney. An 11:03 on lap 4 for Jamie McCoy. Hunter Miller turned a 10:52. That closed that gap up. Ooh, we got physically lead right now. Hunter Miller and Jamie McCoy battling it out. 2.4 seconds separating those guys physically on the course. They are your front 2 runners on the track right now. Kyle Chaney is leading on adjusted time, but regardless, those guys, McCoy and Miller, they're not racing like that. That's not the way they're looking at that. Right now, they are the leaders, and they are going for the win.
Absolutely.
Because when you're out there, you don't know about time adjustment or what's going on. You don't know where you really sit, truly.
And oftentimes, you almost have to think that might be a better thing, because if you think in the back of your mind, I've got to keep going, you're always behind in that mindset, so you're always charging, and that might keep the pace that you need. If you get a little bit lax, that might give those guys who are trying to catch up from behind a chance to close that gap a little more.
Well, the reason the guys from behind, we see them catching up the way they are, is because they have somebody to compete against. When you're out front by yourself, you don't know where you're sitting, where anyone else is. But when you have someone to race with, that's when you see these guys making up a lot of time, having faster lap times, and catching that leader.
Well, something that sounds like exactly what we might be having transpire right now as we take a look at the overall. Look at this. Cody Miller has dropped all the way back to 8th place overall after 4 laps of racing. He is 1 minute and 7 seconds behind Walker Fowler. Fowler has dropped from the top 5 position now to a 7th place position. So we got big changes. Here's the way the top 10 is starting to look right now, folks, as we take a look at it. It's still Chaney out front after 4. Jamie McCoy in 2nd. Hunter Miller 3rd. Darren Oakley is 4th. Michael Swift in 5th. Robert Boynton out of the UXC2 Pro class out of Toms River, New Jersey. That's the class leader. He is right now 6th place overall. Walker Fowler is 7th overall. He's 6th in class. Cody Miller is 7th in class, 8th overall. Colin Truitt, 2nd in class in the UXC2 Pro class. He is 9th overall. Kyle Hart is 3rd in class, and he is 10th overall. Kyle Hart, the 141 out of Kelly, Louisiana. And there is your UXC3 leader. So far, after 3 laps of racing complete, I think he checked in and around an 11th place position. And now Scotty Lawrence has moved up, and after time adjustments and 4 laps complete, to a 6th place overall position. Lawrence out of Thornville, Ohio. Again, UXC3 Pro-Am time adjustments coming into play. And here now I don't know, you guys can help me out here. A little longer track from what I understand after talking with the track designers, of course, talking about Ryan Eccles and Jared Bolton. Ryan said this morning they made the Ace race a little bit longer, and they were making this track a little bit longer as well. I don't know how much longer, but does the length of a course, does it have any factors in this, and what factors does it play?
The length of the course plays a huge factor. You know, the longer you have out there, the more time you have to make moves. And depending on the tightness, how many open spaces you have, the technicality of it all, you know, that plays a huge factor in it.
It also plays a factor with your lap cars, because they get strung out a little bit farther. The longer the course, the more spaced out your lappers will be. So it's you know, from a driver's perspective, they like a longer course.
And I almost have to think that, yeah, I mean, honestly, the longer course would have to play a better favor. And I would almost have to think that a shorter course would also get rougher faster.
Yes, absolutely. It just gets hammered. There's a Cody Miller right there. I'm telling you, that guy is driving, and he was all the way down to, what'd you say, 30th position?
Yeah.
At one point?
Yeah.
And he's up to 8th? That's,
no, that was the other Miller. That was.
Oh, that's Hunter Miller and
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got 2 Miller boys here.
Yeah, I'm getting confused on the Miller boys. Once again, Hunter Miller's in 3rd place, but
wow, Cody Miller is up to 14th. Now
14th. Okay.
Now wait a minute. That's after 4 laps of racing. That's without time adjustment. No one else has checked in behind him. So depending on how much time he gained on that lap, as opposed to what he lost the lap before, we'll be able to tell a little bit more about that.
To give a nice shout out to Scotty Lawrence there. He's leading the XC3 Pro-Am class, so not one of the pro classes, but the Pro-Am class.
Well, actually, you know what? We got a change up here. I didn't see this. I thought we had Scotty Lawrence.
Oh, I thought we did too.
I did, but
right.
look at it. Bubba Gray is actually leading this class in 5th place overall.
5th place overall.
Actually, he probably came in after Scotty came in. That's a time adjustment there. Yep. So Bubba Gray, 422 out of Huffman, Texas, takes over the point as far as the lead position in the XC3 Pro-Am. He is 5th place overall. If you look back to Scotty Lawrence right now, a 40:53 elapsed time when he checked in for Bubba Gray, a 41:24, so about 30 seconds. 31 seconds is what we're looking at in time adjustments is what Gray has pulled on him.
And I think the dust is playing a factor in these back classes coming up and playing in the overall as well, because, you know, no one really knows who's who out there when you have this much dust, and the wind isn't really picking up the way it was earlier for the ATV races.
No, it's not, and, you know, it's interesting that the XC3 of Bubba Gray is beating the XC2 of Kyle Hart. Kyle Hart's leading the XC2 class ahead of Colin Truitt, who's gotten a lot of press time today. But Colin Truitt is a little bit off his game right now. Colin Truitt is running, where'd he go there, Rodney?
Well,
Colin Truitt.
Whoa, he's down to 19th and still hasn't checked in with his 4th lap complete. But wait, now, when he checks in, this might adjust, and he'll move up through the pack. We got to remember, there were a lot of rows out there that we went through today, so there's a lot of deficit between row 1 and row 25 back there, so depending on where you happen to start.
I almost got to think that if you're a superstitious driver, you want the announcers to quit talking about you.
Right? The way things have been going on here, at least this year.
I mean, I don't want the press coverage. I just want to win a race.
Leave me alone.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, I guess.
I suppose so.
You want to be famous, you got to take take what comes with it.
So here we have
the announcer's curse. Come back on that.
Well, it looks like we've got another. We did an interview earlier today with Michael Swift. He's kind of a hero. We haven't been talking about him much in this race here, but Michael Swift is out there.
He's in 8th place.
He's in 8th place, and this is his 3rd race today. So we actually talked to him earlier today.
With Michael Swift, a man of many hats: team owner, team driver, and team supporter, team jack butt, I'm sure, and everything else that goes along with it.
That I have. We do a lot. We do a lot for a lot of different people, a lot of different factories. So it's good. It keeps you busy.
Talk a little bit about the team and about yourself. How's things been going so far this year?
It's good. You know, we made the swap to the turbo from the natural aspirated.
Well, here we are back as a aerial view. That's the finish line now. Michael Swift is, well, I tell you, I have to say, I've been a little disappointed in Michael Swift's performance over the last few years of UTV racing. And I'm not saying that to bash him or knock him down in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is Michael Swift is that kind of driver and that kind of racer that you really expect more. And the team that he had built and has built, and the car that he has built, it's capable of doing it. It's just a matter of luck at this particular point. Michael Swift has not been able to buy an ounce of luck, and once the talent finally breaks through all the bad luck, he's going to be a contender, and he could be a champion of this series so easily.
This is, I agree with you, but that was a really interesting shot right there, because there was a really interesting line, inside line there that was completely blocked by a stuck car. And that's part of UTV driving. That camera view, that drone view, it really gave a neat perspective of what this race is all about, and how rough that track gets, and how the lines develop and how they go away. I mean, that inside line was probably the hot line on lap 1, 2, and 3, but it's no good now. So. Very interesting. But yeah, back to Michael Swift. He's running 8th, which is respectable, but I agree with you, Rodney. His talent exceeds that.
Well, you have to look at the talent he's going against as well. These
true.
drivers, I mean, the UTV classes are stacked with talent. And it's impressive. A lot of these people, here we are at that view again, Chuck.
Yeah, the stuck YXZ. Is that Cole Sequoia?
Oh, man, that thing is buried. Has it got a front wheel missing, or is it
I
buried?
think it does. I think it's missing the front wheel.
Man,
that or it's just buried, stuck in that
it
sand.
Looks like it's high centered there.
But,
and that's the beauty of the Carolinas. I feel we've been in the Carolinas. We have 2 South Carolina rounds with Big Buck in this one, and the tracks are unbelievable, and you get a little bit of everything. And especially this track, you know, you have the sand. Here we have a little bit of mud once you get below the sand.
Yeah, once it's down in that low-lying area. I mean, we haven't had any rain here this weekend, so we're not expecting a mud race. But that low line, this place has a bunch of ponds around it, so there's water around here somewhere. And it looks like that driver found. I don't know if that's coal or not. I couldn't see a number.
Look, there's a whole water underneath there.
Yeah.
Man, great camera work there by our drone driver Ian Howes, aka Woody.
Is that who's driving that?
Yeah.
Ian?
Yeah.
Nice work there, Ian.
There's a snake in my boot. he looks like Woody off
He looks like Woody, does he?
Yeah. That's what I've been calling him ever since I met him.
Is that our leader, Kyle Chaney?
Yeah, that's
on
the
screen?
number 3 of Kyle Chaney, getting a good view on him and seeing that he's making this racetrack look fast too.
Man, I tell you, Kyle Chaney, a former champion of this series, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
and always been a formidable opponent whenever it comes to this. And seeing him in this condition as far as points, you know, I feel kind of weird. I almost feel weird going up talking to him, because, you know, you don't want to say anything and make him feel like, hey, you know, we're writing you off, dude. You're only as good as your last race type scenario. And we know that's not the case. It's just odd. But whenever you do get to talk to him, it's very comfortable, because as frustrating as it is from his standpoint, he's comfortable with it. He's a champion. He knows what it takes sometimes, and he knows sometimes that the cards don't always fall in your favor.
No, and he did a good interview earlier where he explained that. I think it was you that did the interview with him, and he said, you know, hey, we're out of the championship, but we're just here to do our very best. And he's a smart driver. While we were talking about him here, he came around a corner, and there are deep ruts to the inside. Everybody else is hitting those ruts like a slot car, and it's a kind of a blind corner. He's smart enough that he set up for that corner, and he went to the outside of the ruts and maintained his momentum.
Now, is it me, or does his car look to be a little lower than most cars?
It is. That guy.
He's got that thing dialed.
That guy is such a smart operator when it comes to setting up his car. I mean, he tests, he tunes, and
well, you know, we talk about ground clearance and stuff. Does that affect the ground clearance of his machine? Does he still have the same amount of ground? No, it's lower to the ground, but so he has to definitely. Line choice is very critical for him, and momentum, I guess.
Yes, absolutely, and he has to be smart. He has to see that track develop. and he has to know what that track is going to be like for the next lap, and he has to remember that. So these top drivers like Kyle Chaney, they're not dumb.
We're on the white flag, by the way, guys. Last lap of racing. We got 5 laps down, working on lap number 6 quickly. Chaney is in now after time adjustment, still leading. Whenever you look at the elapsed time, he still has about 40 seconds or so ahead of Hunter Miller, who is currently second after adjusted time. Jamie McCoy is third. Back in the number 4 spot is Michael Swift and Darren Oakley, currently rounding out the top 5. Let's see.
Waiting on time adjustments
Cody Miller.
to come in.
Cody Miller is up to 5th place. Again, we got to take into account there's going to be other time adjustments when other drivers and stuff check in, but Cody Miller is really moving up through the pack. Last time we saw him check in, he was like only as far as 13th was as high as he reached. Now he's up to a top 5 overall.
Boy, I'd like to know what happened to that guy.
I know, and it's going to be even more amazing, I think, to see what happens at the end when the checkers come out, how many positions he's able to make up, what he's able to salvage out of this day.
You know, he didn't get that number 1 plate, not being able to make up positions and
That's
salvage
true.
the day.
That's true.
We've seen Cody Miller time and time again have bad luck, but he's always able to pull through and surprise us.
Well, more riders have checked in. Here's the way things are breaking down. Kyle Hart is now 4th place overall. He is your UXC2 Pro class leader. He's 4th place overall right now. And as we look down a little bit further, Jason Watt, who is about 1.1 second behind him, is running 6th place overall. Actually, he's right behind Robert Boynton, I believe. Boynton is the 77 car out of Toms River, New Jersey. He's 3rd. That's odd. He's leading the class physically on the track, but he's 3rd overall. And a second behind him, Jason Watt, is 2nd place. That's the irony in that, I guess.
You're pretty good to do that math in your head there, Rodney. I'm impressed.
You know, I don't know if I'm just that good or if I've just been
doing it long enough.
I've been doing it long enough that I've become programmed to this computer.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
No, the dust is really picking up through this FMF section there. And then we see our speed zone that we were talking about here in the finish is an example of that.
Yeah,
no dust with the speed zone. Go figure.
And there's Rodney
Ricky Towery.
No, there's Ricky Towery.
The other R.
Yeah, the other R.
The other RT, right?
I'm not sure which one of them is the most famous. I mean,
I think
all
Ricky,
racers.
I think Ricky is probably the most famous, if truth be. Now, the 10-second call I make is famous, but Ricky Towery.
I think there's even a ringtone for 10 seconds, isn't there, on the
there
GNCC website?
And there's even people that are, and they're making their own alarm clocks. So that, like Good Morning GNCC Racing Nation. I yell at 7 o'clock. People are actually using that as their alarms anymore. They wake up. They say, I wake up to that every single morning.
Yeah. We go down the road and Teenage Wasteland comes on, and my 12-year-old son is like, it's time to go racing.
Ricky Towery has to stop and just take a couple minutes sometimes, he says, when he hears come on the radio. So
he
just pulls off the side of the road and gets a tear in his eye.
Yeah. Especially in the off season.
Right.
Like, I'm ready to get back to this. Go see all my friends. And this is family here.
It is a family. And a family of supporters are about ready to converge on the finish line and the podium here real soon. This one is still up in the air right now, I think, whenever it comes right down
There's the slots that I said Kyle Chaney set himself up to go around, but Cody just blasted through him like he had a snowplow in the front.
That shows the difference in maturity of the drivers, though, as well. You see that, like Kyle Chaney, Michael Swift, Kevin Trantham, those guys, they've been racing so long. You can see the maturity of the drivers when they're out there.
That's a lot of experience.
And you can also see the aggressiveness of Cody Miller. That I just don't care. I want to get to the front.
Well, he's just making up time, though.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, Bubba Gray, again, in 4th place in the UXC3 Pro-Am class. Remember, after time adjustment, that's what he did last time. We had Kyle Hart out front of Scotty Lawrence. Then all of a sudden, this Bubba Gray dude comes from out of nowhere. Well, there he is again. He's in 4th again.
He's another Texas boy.
Yep. We may be getting...
he might have followed the Millers up here, huh?
Yeah. Remember the Alamo, my friends, and bringing it north, and we're gonna take vengeance on the rest of the world, and they are in the racing world anyway, taking a major vengeance out here. These Miller boys, we got Hunter Miller in 2nd, but how about it for our Buckeye boy over there, Kyle Chaney out of Pataskala, Ohio, that Can-Am driver out front overall, and that's looking at the states here. I mean, look at the states. You got Ohio drivers. Texas, Tennessee, Jamie McCoy's out of Tennessee. Louisiana's where Kyle Hart's from. Jason Watt is out of West Branch, Iowa. Toms River, New Jersey for Robert Boynton. We've got Rogers, Ohio, Palestine, Clayton, Georgia. There's another. Waynesville, North Carolina. Canada is another one here. West Virginia drivers. Pennsylvania, Florida, Indiana. Another's from Indiana. A lot of Ohio drivers. South Carolina drivers also in the mix of things there. So a good mix of drivers. There's C.J. Greaves out of Swamico, Wisconsin. So we've got people from a good slice of the U.S. here in this side-by-side racing action.
I just got to give a shout-out to my buddy Ricky Zorn.
Little Ricky.
He's getting beat by all the women's class there.
Yeah,
that women's class is stacked this year,
true.
too, isn't it? We got Maddie Cox from the West Coast out there. I love seeing that class grow.
Give little Ricky Zorn fuel for his fire. Yeah, well, you know, that's a pretty stacked class. I heard Jesse Strawham say it on RacerTV. Little Ricky, pick it up, man. Pick it up.
That's right.
Hey, those women drivers are aggressive.
I know, and you're absolutely right. And another thing that I noted is the women's class a lot bigger this year than what it has been. We were lucky to get 2 or 3 cars in it. We had, 8 cars in that class?
Well, last year was the first year for it, and you know, we had names like Veronica Whitzel, she won it, and then Vicki Fowler, of course, she's one of the biggest supporters. And then this year we had Maddie Cox come from the West Coast. She's actually a South Carolina girl. And of course, Vicki's coming back for another rounds of GNCC racing.
Hey, real quick, while we got just a couple minutes left of racing, let's go ahead and break them down class by class for you. We should have thought about this a half hour ago, guys, but here we go. Well, I think so. Maybe, yeah. It's thinking, it's like me, it's scratching its head right now. All right, Kyle Chaney, this is the UXC1 Pro class without all the time adjustments with all the other classes. This is time adjustments in their class only. Kyle Chaney, Hunter Miller, Jamie McCoy, Michael Swift, and Cody Miller, your top 5. Walker Fowler is 6, Darren Oakley in 7. And there is that the checkers out yet? That is the checker.
That is the checker.
And there is your winner, I believe, coming out, and that's going to send Chuck Leemaster over to the look at that. Kyle Chaney even took the win physically, not only on time adjustment, but he got out front physically. So Chuck Leemaster is headed over to talk to them. We're going to go to the UXC2 to give you an idea how we can expect to see Kyle Hart out front. He had only a second lead over Jason Watt. Robert Boynton was 3rd, Sean Hess in 4th, and Austin Seelig rounded out your top 5 there in the UXC2 class. UXC3 Pro-Am class, Bubba Gray, we're looking for him to take the win on the time adjustment. Looks like he has gone physically in the lead as well. Scotty Lawrence in 2nd. Jason Langford, the 404 in 3rd. 4th, Trevor Payne in 5th place. Brett Wingfield.
And the number 2, Hunter Miller, just came in as well.
That should put him in the number 2 spot, as he is actually physically the next driver across the finish line behind Kyle Chaney. So Hunter Miller will take 2nd. As we look at the Sportsman UTV class, looks like Robert Lisey out of Wadsworth, Ohio, should be lined up for a win. He's got 4 laps down and a 5-minute lead. Tanner Bowles in 2nd. Brian Russell in 3rd. Little Ricky Zorn all the way back in 4th place after 2 laps of racing complete. Heartbreaker there for him. I know probably some sort of an issue. Todd Rebman rounding out the top 5 aboard the 112 out of Noblesville, Indiana. Masters 45-plus class, Devin Ferguson, looking for him out of Knoxville, Tennessee to take the win. The 401, Mark Thompson out of Ocala, Florida, 2nd. Austin Sides, the 120 from Sanger, Texas, in 3rd. Matthew Yerkes in the 310 from Champion, Pennsylvania, in 4th. And Thomas Wilson, the 406 car out of Katy, Texas, in the 5th place position. And women's, here it is, Addie Neibel looking to take the win. She had a 3-minute 42-second lead. Jamie McCoy is checked in now, by the way, as well. That should put him in 3rd place. But Addie Neibel looking to win this one. Lauren Tripado out of Concord, North Carolina in 2nd. By the way, Neibel out of Cameron, Missouri. Rogers, Ohio, home to Vicki Fowler. Home of the 3-time ATV GNCC champ Walker Fowler, 723 in 3rd. Emily Truitt, the 127 out of Marion, North Carolina, is 4th. And Renee McGee, the 887 car out of Bolivia, North Carolina, is rounding out the top 5. And that's the way we're seeing the class-by-class breakdown for you right now, as we are watching our drivers check in, and after time adjustments, it's looking like Kyle Chaney will take the overall as well as physical win. Hunter Miller in 2nd, and Jamie McCoy in the number 3 spot. They are the only 3 cars that have checked in, but after this much time has elapsed, I can almost say, Jesse Strawham, that this is likely the way things are going to stand. And as impressive as anything, Kyle Chaney not only took this win on time adjustment, but he was smart enough, fast enough, and drove hard enough that he was able to take the physical win as well. Pretty impressive, eh?
Kyle Chaney is an impressive driver, 100%.
Now, As far as that goes, I think that Landon Wolf was his co-driver, if I'm not, co-pilot, if I'm not mistaken.
And Adam McGill was Hunter Miller's. And
wow.
So
we're going to have two guys from this earlier day racing. Now, I realize Landon raced 4x4 Pro now, and then Adam McGill in the XC1 Pro. Well, we're going to see them on the podium, it looks like. So pretty cool stuff, no doubt. Race is over. Again, the elapsed time on this, 59 minutes, 42 seconds for Kyle Chaney to take that. That was 18 seconds short of 1 solid hour of driving and racing out there. That's pretty impressive.
That doesn't happen often.
Not often at all. I mean, normally you're a little bit sooner than that or a little bit after that, but regardless, way to go. Folks, don't forget, we got the fishing tournament coming up tonight. That'll be between 6 and 7. The fishing contest, the fishing derby is going to be right here over, just look for the signs. We'll make the announcements whenever we get closer to that. Should be in about 20 minutes. I think it's the big pond over here. That'll be 6 to 7. And the zip line, oh, it's at the zip line pond by the start. Okay, they moved it then. It's at that pond? Well, I was told it wasn't going to be in that pond now.
Regardless, there's a fishing tournament from 6 to 7, and we really want you guys to come out, enjoy, show us your skills, maybe catch some dinner.
Timmy Coombs on hand with us here this weekend. He says we're going to hunt for a pond, and if you get an aerial view, I don't think we're going to have a hard time finding a pond. We're going to have a tough time of deciding which
pond to use.
Yeah, that's the problem. Which pond are we going to be using? Well, it looks like Chuckley Masters making his way down into the finish line region down there, and not sure what happened with the car there earlier. I know we had a little bit of a fire there, but I want to point out, we tried to give these drivers, and it's a learning process for us over the years. Safety is of the utmost importance. We close the woods during this. No spectators are allowed in the woods and on the race course. We have in the spectator areas where there are people located. We have the speed zones now. And one other thing, these guys all carry fire extinguishers. They all wear fire suits. So, I mean, protection is of the utmost importance here when it comes to GNCC racing. And wow, these guys adhere to a lot of rules and stuff like that, but it works out in their favor in the end. And we saw that there a little bit ago, the safety, making sure you had that fire extinguisher, were able to get that car out. And
that's why it's in there.
That's exactly why it's in there. So we try to safety conscious. I mean, we go out, we like to be extreme, we like to have a lot of fun, but we also like to, number one, be safe. Number two, take care of our environment. What you see out here, we talk about these rough conditions and how blown out the track is, but what happens is Sunday night, they start around this race course with, actually they'll start tonight in certain sections with these little mini bulldozers. They're Sweco brands, but anyway, they're about the size of a skid steer, and they can push more dirt than a D9 anytime, any day, especially if they got the right guys. And we reclaim these facilities back to a lot of times better than ever conditions.
That's something that the spectators don't really know or get to see is that, our track crew, not only are they here a week in advance, they're also here a few days after cleaning up the mess that we've made.
Exactly. And tip of the hat to Jeff Russell and his whole crew.
All those Racer Productions crew.
The entire Racer Productions sign up staff up there. They're an amazing group of people up there taking care of everything. Okay, we got an official word. Okay, it's over by the start pond, but it's beside the zipline pond. That's where the fishing tournament's going to be. So, guys, grab your poles and start heading that way. Timmy Coombs is going to be manning that up here in a little bit. And that's going to be a lot of fun when you take your fish over to be measured. That's going to be a lot of fun with Timmy. But over by the ponds over by the start, it's not in the zipline pond, but there's a couple of ponds over by there. Pretty cool. I'm telling you, there's so much to do here. This preserve.
I love this facility.
I do.
And not just because it's close to home, but
I wish that we could have a race here like 3 times a year. I'm not going to lie. I think the facility, we could go.
It offers so much.
It does.
It really does. And that's great. A lot of the properties that we go to, they offer a lot as well,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the great thing about GNCC. I mean, it's become such a big affair. Such a family-oriented sport, which it's always been, but we tried to find places where there are some amenities. Now, there's some old-school places that we're not going to find those amenities, but there's some new school places where we come that actually has cell service.
That's hard to come by, too.
Yeah. Jeff Russell didn't get a preview of this place, or we would have never had a race. I'm just kidding. We always used to make the joke, if Jeff would go out and drive someplace until he found no cell service, and then he'd say, we're having a race right here.
Hey, that's a good thing, too, though. You know, it keeps people off their phone and makes them interact with each other.
You know, and that might be part of the reason that families are so strong at the racetrack, because there is a lot of that in some of the places. Now, a lot of these venues now, we have a cell service at most of the track, all the tracks now, but we always like to tease them. But this is one of the better ones. I've got Sprint, I got service here, I got Cricket, I got service here, AT&T's got service here, so everything's going good, and technologically speaking. And right now, Chaney, Miller, McCoy, Bubba Gray is 4th overall. He's your UXC3 Pro-Am driver. He beat Kyle Hart, who is the UXC2 Pro class winner, who finished 5th place overall. So Bubba Gray might be a little better than a Pro-Am driver. They might have to reassess his status, especially at the end of this season. I'm sure he'll want to move up after that. Michael Swift in 6th place right now. Jason Watt, 7th. Scotty Lawrence, who is your UXC3 Pro-Am 2nd place driver, is in the 8th place overall position. Cody Miller, look at this. He was 30th place with like 3 laps to go, maybe 4. I think it was like 3 laps left to go. He was 30th place. He is up to 9th place position overall and rounding out in the top 10. The 404, Jason Langford out of Palestine, Texas. Let's head down to the winner's circle, where I believe Chuckley Master may be getting ready now to interview our top competitors here at this Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. Chuck?
All right, down here at the finish line with Kyle Chaney. And Kyle, you just came off of a brutal track there, but congratulations on your win today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was probably one of the roughest tracks we've ever had. The track got super nasty, rutted, like exposed all the tree roots, and it was, I mean, the ruts in the woods were just train track. It was, the track was super rough, but my Can-Am handled it awesome. You know, I'm super happy to be up here. You know, this is where we belong, and, you know, I just want to, you know, I wanted to prove all year that, you know, to my team that this is where we belong, and, you know, I just had some bad luck, but, you know, hopefully we got that monkey off our shoulder and we can stay up here the rest of the year and hopefully contend for a championship. I mean, it's going to be tough now with DNF in the first 2 rounds, but if I keep clicking off wins, you know, we'll be there at the end.
Yeah, you know, you did awesome. You had an interview where you pointed out you had 2 DNFs, but you were going to persevere today, and you got the result you wanted. We made a note from the announcer's tower that your car is sitting a little bit lower than normal. Did that come back to bite you, the way that you set this thing up?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, maybe it's me and Landon are fat and maybe we're weighing the car down. But no, I did set it up a little low because I didn't know how rough the track was going to get. And the first couple laps, it was really good, but I was fighting dust the whole time, fighting through traffic because we were in the 3rd row. So by the time the track got broke in and I got caught up, I was framing out real bad. But, I mean, my car did awesome. You know, if it wouldn't have been an X3 and it would have been that low, it'd probably be broke out there somewhere. So, you know.
Well, great job and good job on the setup. I know you're always working to get things dialed, and you did great today, so it's great to have you back here on the top of the podium. We'll see you over there in just a minute.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Well, there you go. Kyle Chaney doing exactly what he needed to do after those first 2, I won't call them debacles, but lackluster performances and ones that he's to. He knows, hey, man, it's a wash. Let's go out and have some fun. And that's what he did. Exactly what he did today. Went out, had a blast, comes away with a big, big win here. And, you know, honestly, the way this season's going, he still might have his hat in the ring for that championship, especially if he can knock off these last 3 wins coming up here in just, at the latter half of the season.
Unless our 2nd place finisher, Hunter Miller, can catch up. Let's see how his race went.
All righty, let's check back in with Chuckley Master, who's standing by with 2nd place down at the finish line.
All right, I'm down here in the pits, coming straight off the track with Hunter Miller. Just time to get out of your car here and a little bit of mayhem. But man, you put on a ride today.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we thought Florida was going to be bad or was bad. This was absolutely brutal. I mean, that was one of the roughest tracks I've ever driven in my entire life.
So this was worse than Florida?
It really was. I mean, just the track came apart, you know. I tried to be smooth and consistent. I knew Walker and Trantham were behind me, and so my main goal was to beat them, you know, so I could bump up into the overall points lead. And, you know, we brought it to the finish. The Can-Am held together amazing. You know, I mean, these conditions were absolutely brutal. There were cars littered everywhere. everywhere. And I took a rock to the eye once that got me. It's a little swole up, which didn't feel good. But, you know, in the end, thing made it to the finish line. My co-pilot, Adam Gill, just did amazing as always. And here we are, second overall.
You know, and my hillbilly math says that puts you into the championship points lead.
Well, I'll trust your hillbilly math any day.
I failed math, but hey, I think you got it, and that eye is going to be really nice in the morning. Congratulations to you. I'll see you up there on the podium in just a minute. Back to you there in the booth.
All righty, thanks a lot, Chuck, and congratulations to Hunter Miller in that number 2 position. And like you say, man, right now, Hunter, just consistency is paying off huge dividends for him coming into this one. I mean, looking at the point standings in this one, he was sitting 3rd place in points. Walker Fowler finished behind him. Colin Truitt way behind. I don't know that Colin scored any points. So looking at how tight this is, I think Hunter Miller may be your new point leader after today.
You know, Hunter's come so close to a championship time and time again, and he just has not been able to pull it off. So he is just putting in that work, trying to make things happen, trying to make a season come together. And, you know, he's really putting into place a good year so far.
He is a 4th, a 3rd, and a 2nd place position. And again, according to my calculations, that puts him in number 1 position overall in points right now as we roll into our 4th round of side-by-side racing.
All right, down here at the finish line with our 3rd place finisher, Jamie Mccoy. Jamie, we missed you in Florida, but man, it's great to see you back here. You know, come out with a win, and then you come out here on the podium here in South Carolina. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We started off strong in Florida, and we broke a axle on the entering the flat high-speed section. So we got stuck on the last lap in Florida, and we lost a lot of valuable points. Second lap, same thing. We broke another axle. I finished in two-wheel drive today, but John kept saying the same thing over, and I don't care if you go fast, just be smooth on the throttle. So he's afraid we break another axle in the rear, but we finished, man. I'm blessed, dude. It's just it's a fabulous day, man. I'm just amongst friends and having a big old time.
Well, you got it, man, and we're pleased to have you, proud to have you. And smooth is fast, especially on a rough track like this. We've been hearing all day that this has been a brutal track.
Yeah, it was hard to get up on top of everything with rear wheel driven, and you know, I really had to concentrate and I didn't want to break the buggy, but you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jamie Mccoy putting together a good ride. Jesse Strawham and I sitting here talking for just a moment. That actually, I mean, even with no points scored after winning that first round of racing, a 3rd here today, that's kind of turned things around for Jamie. It's not necessarily got him right there in the thick of things as far as the championship is concerned, but with 3 more races, 3 good drives, and the kind of craziness we've seen here with some of the point leaders, this championship's still wide open. I tell you, consistency may be what pays off. It almost paid off for Hunter Miller last year, and that might be the ticket this year for sure.
Well, you know, Jamie, he was sitting in the 5th place position coming into this overall. So having that 3rd, and then you have Hunter Miller, Hunter Walker, and Kevin Trantham were all tied for 2nd.
Wow, that's setting the stage for a good one. So we're heading to our next round, and folks, you're going to want to go with us. As far as Racer TV is concerned, we'll be back tomorrow live at 1 o'clock for 2-wheel motorcycle racing action. Can Thad Duvall take the win here against Caleb Russell this year? We'll tune back in tomorrow at 1 to find out. On behalf of Jesse Strawham, Chuck LeMaster, and also Mikey Waynes, I'm Rodney Tomlin saying so long, everybody.